I got Tom Curran who just popped up and looks like. Wait, Tom, do you look like you were frustrated or angry
They
or
did
what?
this, but
What?
they did this last year. Let's go. I mean, they did this, and they came up with the ridiculous assertion that Franco Harris in the Immaculate Reception was the greatest player in NFL
But
history.
that's not in a Super Bowl.
Right, which is bizarre to even contend that it was, because clearly it's the Malcolm Butler interception. It happens at the end of the game. The Tyree thing, there were 13 other things that had to happen after that play. I mean, it's the Butler thing.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I would say. But
I'm just so mad at McLovin.
Why?
Just his contention, and he's got a better head on his shoulders than this, and it's disappointing to see him in decline.
Oh.
Wow. Yes, McLovin.
By the way, I just want to make sure your fan base knows Nick Foles is going against Tom Brady tonight. Who won that Super Bowl, Tom?
That would be the Eagles won that Super Bowl because Malcolm Butler was consigned to the bench.
The official introduction, Tom Curran, the Patriots insider for NBC Sports Boston. Like, when do you become an insider? Like, you go from a reporter to an insider. Is there something that happens that all of a sudden?
Definitely. Good question. And there's a point at which you're a peripheral guy. And so you go from reporter to straight reporter, then periphery guy, and then you're an insider. And there's certifications that you have to go through that I think that, I'd love to get into now, but it's more detailed than we really have the time for. But I'm in there.
I'm kind of a Patriots outsider.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Hashtag Tommy.
Yeah. Hashtag Tommy. When's the last time you communicated with Tom Brady?
The camp. You know how we like to do that? I rode my horse past the camp this week. He was in his teepee, didn't get a chance to say hello. But yeah, the camp I usually stay in steady communication with.
Really?
But yeah, it's funny. I mean, you've communicated with Brady over the years, I would imagine. Hashtag.
I try to keep that quiet. I don't like to put that out there. Let everybody go, oh, you must know him. What I do in my private life it's called private, Tom.
Same thing with the insidery stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to let you know how I got here.
But what questions do you have for Brady now that you'd be curious about?
How much better is the Tampa Bay offensive experience right now with the players you're surrounded by than the final year of the New England Patriots, or the final 2 years of the New England Patriots? And is there any wistful looking up at New England and saying, wow, I kind of miss it up there? I would guess the answer to the latter is no. This worked out perfectly for everybody involved, and the animosity, while somewhat there, is not great enough that it damaged anything long term. What do you think? What would you ask, Mr.
I think that's the place that I would start. Is how different is the experience there, and is it what you thought it was going to be? How many games? How often do you check on what the Patriots do? How curious are you? What teammates do you stay in when do you want me to stop there, Insider? I mean,
you know what? No, that's fine. There was an interesting juncture in the game the other day where Brady had to take a timeout or a penalty and he got yelled at from the sideline. And if there were fans in the stands, you wouldn't have heard this. But he had to take a timeout, or they took a penalty. Either way, the clock ran out. And someone yelled to him, just snap the ball. And he yelled at the sideline. He was still bleeping moving. And no one really picked up on that. But I think that his patience right now seems to be paper thin in general as he gets older, as yours did too, the fellas have told me.
Yes. And I'm in decline as well. Cam's status for this weekend is?
I honestly wish I could have a glib answer for you, or even an accurate answer. The fact that we don't know whether or not he's been tested and tested negative yet makes it impossible for me to give a clear answer. So I don't even want to guess. I guess the better question is whether there's a game or not.
Well, do you think there will be a game?
I don't think there will be a game. And I tried to pin Belichick down this morning on what do you need to prepare. When you look at the Patriots, had their Monday erased and played a football game, had their Tuesday erased by the commute home, and then have had Wednesday and Thursday erased by not being able to be in the facility. You have physical treatments that need to go on. You have scouting and preparation that needs to go on. You have two quarterbacks who have yet to take a practice rep in advance of playing either of these two games. It's going to be a point at which you say, you know what, this isn't really what we're trying to put out as a product, is it?
What about Stephon Gilmore?
Same thing. And it's interesting, Adam Schefter spoke on Philadelphia radio about having heard that Gilmore and Newton dined together last Friday night. Now, that was in advance of Cam learning that he was COVID positive. So it's not a transgression necessarily that they dined together, but this amplifies the fact that Gilmore didn't test positive until Wednesday. So you can incubate over that period of time. We'll find out whether anybody on that close contact plane was infected. But I would imagine Gilmore, I'd have to answer the same way, Dan. Unless I know if he's had a negative test and he's asymptomatic, I can't answer.
When do you think the NFL is going to let the Patriots and Broncos know? Because it feels like everybody's all in on what's going on with the Titans and Bills, and that is in jeopardy. They're not. You're saying they may not play, or you don't think they will. Whereas now we're hearing Diana Rossini said they might move that game to Monday for the Bills and the Titans. So, when does the NFL have to inform these teams?
Well, I mean, Denver would fly on Saturday, and coming west to east, they'd have to fly a little earlier in the day. I think, earlier in the day. Really, they'd have to let them know in the next 24 to 36 hours, Dan, right?
If even that, I would think I'd need to know by Friday, I think, to be fair to these teams, just trying to prepare for a football game. It's hard enough to prepare. Now you're going, we can't even go to the facility to prepare.
And that's what's really hard for the Patriots. And I know that there's not going to be a lot of tears shed, but when you look at, there are only 3 positive tests right now, but the timing of them and the fact that they traveled are what are the extended factors that enter into this, Dan. So, I spoke to somebody with the league yesterday and said, Atlanta played after I said, and I know Atlanta didn't fly. So don't bring up Atlanta. The Patriots flew after having a positive test, and we'll see what the ramifications are.
I wondered when I was watching Kansas City and, Hoyer and Stidham came in, I thought Belichick did a great job in what he wanted to do with the defense there. And, if you had a decent quarterback in there, the running game would have kept Patrick Mahomes off the field. Like, they had the blueprint there. Mm-hmm. You're around this team. I was just curious, if Cam had played in that game, given this blueprint that they have, do you think the Patriots would have beaten the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think that they would have beaten the Chiefs. I mean, they end up losing by 16 points. There's a pick six that it's just a horrible play. I don't know if they would have been in a position to have that happen. The points taken off the board by bad decisions by Hoyer and physical lapse by Hoyer. You have to say that it would have looked differently. The first pick that the Patriots threw would have looked differently. I think that, as you point out perfectly, the running game would have been that much more effective with another factor in the mix, and the defensive game plan was impenetrable. Impenetrable? Good.
It's one of the longest running debates in sports show history. I think you've weighed in on this. Julian Edelman, Hall of Famer.
Oh, hot dog. I thought it was hot dog sandwich.
No.
Yeah, Julian Edelman's a Hall of Famer. If Lynn Swan's sitting in there and Joe Namath's sitting in there, you got to put Julian Edelman in there.
That game has changed.
Okay, you know what? Can I just back that off and just say he needs to be in the conversation? Is that too hedgy?
Well, no, I would let you get by with that.
You have to have.
You did backpedal a little too fast there.
In the Hall of Fame. Look, Lynn Swan is in there based primarily on his Super Bowl performances. And Julian Edelman's playoff performances are so absurd, and his iconic plays are so absurd that when we talk about Art Monk or Isaac Bruce or these guys who compiled numbers over the years but never had monumental plays, this is the other side of the coin. Gale Sayers was not in the league forever, but he was an icon, an iconic, unique player who was emblematic of something. And I think Edelman has been as well of this second half of the Patriots dynasty. Yeah,
but at that position, things have changed dramatically. And while I'll give you that with Swanee and what he did in the Super Bowl, absolutely. And John Stallworth. But, that was as balanced of a team as we've probably ever seen in the NFL. Their defense, they ran the ball, and, you had great wide receivers there. But they didn't ask them to do that. And I think nowadays you got to have 1,000 receptions at least to be in a conversation to be in the Hall of Fame. It's like a running back. if I'm going to compare running backs now to Jim Taylor with the Green Bay Packers, then if I say Adrian Peterson, Jim Taylor, you're going to go, well, of course, Adrian Peterson. Look at the numbers he put. Frank Gore to Jim Taylor of the Packers, right?
And what's the difference between Jim Taylor and Frank Gore? The postseason performances, which on the highest and most, highly leveraged positions and times.
Usually with a quarterback, though.
I don't know how much the quarterback helped him during the catch against.
No, but I'm saying that the quarterback, we look at your postseason numbers, that's where we elevate you to greatness.
Right. Unless you have unparalleled performances in multiple postseason games, and Edelman kind of did. I mean,
but he hasn't been a Pro Bowler, has he? Been at one time, maybe?
Yeah, if that. But I mean, again, that's the byproduct of people voting based upon, okay, he doesn't play the same position as DeAndre Hopkins or Julio Jones. It's a different position, the same way third down back is different from running back. And I think you have to allow for that to some degree.
I just think that it's basically, you can't tell the story about the NFL without Julian Edelman, and leave it at that.
That's the way to do it. And I think that we get too far into the, how the hell do we get on Edelman?
No, it's been a conversation. It comes up periodically when we'll go, would you rather have Calvin Johnson's career or Julian Edelman? And then we have the discussion. I think we brought up Julio Jones or Julian Edelman. Whose career would you want to have?
Probably Julio Jones. It seems like more fun, and I'm probably going to be able to have more fun on the golf course when I'm 55, 60. I just don't think Julian, I mean, he's just taking a thrashing.
I don't care what, if I'm walking at 40. I'm just talking about now.
Oh, I'd probably rather have Edelman's career.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, you had the biggest moments, a couple of the biggest catches in the history of the Super Bowl. And Julio Jones had a great catch in the Super Bowl, but they didn't win. So
Julio's never been in a parade. I mean, the games lead to the parades. Parades are terrific.
What's the book over your shoulder?
Oh, that's a book that I did with Julian Edelman.
Yeah. Mr. Objectivity. You're a knucklehead. All right, I'll let you go back to being an insider there. So thank you for sharing your insides with us.
We had a good time. Thanks.
All right, that's Tom Curran, Tom E. Curran. He's an insider